Okay, so next we do 8, 6. This is where we get to start doing factoring of trinomials. So what we're going to do first is kind of take a peek at that FOIL method, the distributive property, and I can see pretty easily that this 3 and this 4 play a significant part in coming up with the 7. And they also play a part in coming up with this 12. You just added them to get to the middle number and multiplied them to get the third number. Well, that should make factoring pretty easy then. What we're going to do, we're going to make a table. One side's going to be plus, one side is going to be multiplication. You're going to be first of all, I want you to make sure that your trinomial is in the correct order. So squared, no, not squared variable, and then your constant. You're going to be adding, by the way, let me do some vocabulary real quick. This is called the quadratic term, the one that has the squared. The piece here is called the linear term, and then this is called the constant. So those are what I'm referring to when I say the linear term and the constant and the quadratic term. So I'm going to be adding to the coefficient of the linear term. That was a really fancy sentence for saying add to the middle number, assuming it's in the correct order. So add to 11, and I'm going to be multiplying to 24, the constant. And now I'm going to try and find those numbers. Some of you might be able to just look at this right now and know what those two numbers are. But when in doubt, I'm always going to refer you back to try to make a table. So start at 1. 1 times what is 24? 24. So put a check mark, because 1 times 24 does multiply 24. But does that add to 11? The answer is no. So move on. Let's try 2. 2 times what is 24? 12. Excellent. Does that add? Adds to 14. So no. 3 times what is 24? 8. 3 times 8 is 24. Does that add to 11? Hey, it does. Okay, then those two numbers are what you're looking for. That's not your answer, but what you're going to do, when you had a trinomial like this, it started off as two binomials being multiplied together, like we have up here. So that's the form that your answer is going to be in. So I'm going to say, okay, my variable is d, so parentheses, d. Since it's a positive 3, it's going to be plus 3. And since it's a positive 8, it'll be a plus 8. Fun fact, it doesn't actually matter what order you put the numbers in. If you put d plus 3, d plus 8, that is the same thing as d plus 8 and d plus 3. Both of those would be counted correct. And if we wanted to double check ourselves, we could distribute FOIL d squared plus 3d plus 8d plus 24 gives me an answer of d squared plus 11d plus 24. Hey, what do you know? That's where I started. And that's all we're doing today, folks. I am going to show you a couple of the more difficult problems, starting here with 2a. First things first, I noticed it's not in the right order, so I'm going to rewrite it so that the squared quadratic term is on the left, the linear term is in the middle, and the constant is on the right. And then you're adding to the linear coefficient, multiplying to the constant. 1 times what is 21? And the answer is 21. This doesn't add, right? Because 1 plus 21 is a positive 22, and I'm looking for a negative 22. If the two numbers you're using, when you add them together, if they give you the right number here, but it's the wrong positive or negative, try this. Switching both signs. Because a negative times a negative is still going to be a positive 21, but now a negative 1 plus a negative 21 equals negative 22. So my answer is m minus 1, oops, that was supposed to be parentheses, and m minus 21. That's the answer. one more well, it's not really that funky, but one more, just for good measure, is going to be this one here, I guess. It's in the correct order. Awesome. Adding to the linear term, which is 13, multiplying to the constant term, which is negative 48. Okay, by now maybe you're getting pretty good at these. I don't know. Can you do it without having to make a full table? Three. If you're unsure, let me give you this hint. If you're not sure what 3 times what gives you 48, take 48 divided by that 3, and it will give you a number. Or negative 48 divided by 3. Hey, that's it. So my answer is y plus 3, y minus 16, don't forget. Y minus 16, y plus 3 is the same thing. Either one of those answers is acceptable. Delta Math takes them both.